Cops raid black family's home for drug dealing. Unaware father is BEA special agent. Suburban, Maryland. Saturday morning, 7:47 a.m. Marcus Thompson, a 42-year-old black man with salt and pepper edges and the kind of presence that comes from years of discipline, was in his kitchen making pancakes for his two daughters, completely unaware that the next hour would prove, once again, that a nice house in a white neighborhood doesn't make you safe when you're black. What the Montgomery County police officers racing toward his address didn't know? Marcus wasn't just any father. He was BEA Special Agent Marcus Thompson, 15-year veteran, currently leading the Baltimore, D.C. Drug Task Force. That ignorance, that assumption based on skin color and an anonymous tip, would cost them everything. The Thompson house sat on a tree-lined cul-de-sac, immaculate lawn, American flag hanging from the porch. Marcus had bought it 3 years ago after his promotion, wanting his girls, Maya, 14, and Zoe, 10, to have the kind of childhood he didn't. Good schools, safe streets, space to breathe. But breathing while black in a white neighborhood comes with a price. His wife, Dr. Nia Thompson, a pediatric surgeon at Johns Hopkins, was at the hospital pulling a double shift. His mother, Lorraine, sat at the kitchen table in her church clothes, Bible open, waiting for the girls to finish breakfast before heading to service. Maya scrolled through her phone, her afro puff bouncing as she laughed at something. Zoe drew pictures at the counter, humming. Normal. Black family doing normal things. Marcus flipped a pancake, smiling at his youngest off-key singing. He'd survived undercover operations in Colombian cartels, stared down gang leaders, testified against corrupt cops. But this peaceful Saturday morning with his girls, this was what he'd earned. He didn't see the patrol cars rolling into his cul-de-sac. Silent, no sirens. He didn't know his neighbor, Carol, 2 houses down, the one who'd never quite made eye contact at block parties, had called 911 3 days ago. Suspicious activity, she'd reported. Too many cars coming and going, different people at all hours. One of them looked like a gang member. She'd described Marcus's nephew, Dante, a 19-year-old Howard University sophomore who'd been visiting for spring break. Marcus didn't know that the officer who took the call had flagged the address, had run Marcus's name through a database, and found nothing. Because Marcus's real work was classified. His cover was ironclad. To suburban Maryland police, he was just another black man in a house too nice for his neighborhood's comfort. He didn't know that the watch commander had authorized a high-risk entry based on Carol's description and their own expertise. No warrant, just assumption. Just the kind of policing that gets black people killed. The first sign was his mother's gasp. Marcus turned from the stove. Through the kitchen window, he saw them, 6 officers, in tactical gear, rifles raised, moving across his lawn like he was Pablo Escobar himself. His blood went cold. Not fear. Recognition. Girls, go upstairs. Now, quietly. His voice, calm, controlled, the voice he used in the field. Mama, take them. Lock the bedroom door. Get on the floor away from windows. Maya's eyes widened. She'd had the talk. She knew. Daddy, now, baby. Right now, Lorraine grabbed both girls, moving fast for 68. Marcus heard their footsteps on the stairs, heard the bedroom door close. His heart hammered against his ribs. He'd done everything right, followed every rule. Worked twice as hard, been 3 times as qualified, bought the house, mowed the lawn, smiled at neighbors who didn't smile back. And still, here they were. Tactical rifles aimed at his home, his children inside. Marcus raised his hands slowly, stepping into view of the kitchen window. Have you experienced this? That moment when you realize that no degree, no badge, no respectability can protect you from the assumption? The fear that your children, your babies, might watch you die because someone decided you looked suspicious in your own home? Drop a comment. This is a safe space. We see you. But first, you need to hear what these officers didn't know about who they were about to destroy. The front door exploded inward. Not a knock, not an announcement, just wood splintering, the crash echoing through his home like a bomb. Police! Get down! Get down now! Marcus dropped to his knees, hands behind his head, fingers interlaced, the position he'd trained others to assume. His mind raced through protocols, through laws they were breaking, through the thin line between compliance and becoming another hashtag. 4 officers swarmed him. Rough hands yanked his arms, zip ties bit into his wrists, his face pressed against the hardwood floor he'd installed himself, the floor where his daughters played, where his family lived. Where are the drugs? The officer's knee dug into Marcus's spine. White guy, maybe 30, that edge in his voice, excitement masked as authority. There are no drugs. My children are upstairs. My elderly mother. Clear the house. Go, go, go! Marcus heard boots thundering up his stairs, heard his daughter screaming, heard his mother's voice, shaking but firm. We're unarmed. There are children here. Every instinct screamed to fight. 15 years of tactical training, weapons expertise, hand-to-hand combat. He could disarm the officer on his back in 3 moves. But he'd also seen the videos, read the reports, knew the names: Philando Castile, Breonna Taylor, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson. All dead in situations that started just like this. So Marcus stayed down, breathed through his nose, let them violate his home, terrorize his family, humiliate him on his own kitchen floor. Here's what Marcus was thinking, what every black person thinks in these moments. Do I tell them I'm federal law enforcement and risk them thinking I'm lying? Do I reach for my badge and get shot for threatening movement? Do I stay silent and let this play out, knowing my girls are listening to their father be treated like a criminal? He'd given his daughters the talk, told them about staying calm, keeping hands visible, never arguing with police. But he'd never imagined they'd learn the lesson like this, in their own home. Watching their father, a man who dedicated his life to law enforcement, treated like the dealers he arrested. I need to speak with your supervisor, Marcus said, voice steady. My badge is in my wallet, front right pocket. I'm a federal agent. The officer laughed. Actually laughed. Sure you are, buddy. And I'm the director of the FBI. Heard it all before. Another officer appeared from upstairs. No drugs yet. Still searching. Check the basement. Check the garage. They're here. No probable cause. No warrant. Just certainty born from seeing a black face and assuming criminal. How many of you just felt your chest tighten? That's recognition, isn't it? That moment when you realize the law doesn't protect you, it hunts you. Marcus closed his eyes, thought of Nia at the hospital saving children's lives, unaware her family was under assault, thought of his girls upstairs, trauma forming in real time, thought of his own father who'd warned him, son, that badge won't make you safe. It'll just make you a target when they find out he was about to be proven right. They dragged Marcus to his living room, threw him onto his couch, the one Nia had picked out, gray microfiber, where they watched movies as a family. Officers rifled through everything, couch cushions thrown, pictures torn from walls. His daughter's backpacks dumped, contents scattered. Marcus watched them desecrate his home, the home he'd worked years to afford, the home that was supposed to mean safety. Where's the stash? The first officer, name tag Red Sullivan, stood over Marcus. We know you're dealing. Neighbor's been watching you. I'm a BEA special agent. My credentials are in my wallet. You need to contact. Stop lying. Sullivan's face flushed red. You people always got a story. Always got an excuse, you people. There it was, the truth underneath the uniform. Marcus's jaw tightened. My name is Marcus Anthony Thompson. Badge number. Shut up. Just shut up. Sullivan kicked the coffee table. Where are your buyers? Who's running product through here? From upstairs, Maya's voice cut through. Leave my dad alone. He's telling the truth. Marcus's heart stopped. Maya, baby, stay upstairs. An officer appeared at the top of the stairs holding his 14-year-old daughter by the arm. Maya's face was streaked with tears, her afro disheveled. She'd been dragged from her room, in her pajamas, in her own home. Get your hands off her. Marcus surged forward. 2 officers slammed him back down. Daddy, Maya sobbed. Lorraine appeared behind them, Zoe clutching her grandmother's hand. His 10-year-old's eyes were wide with terror Marcus had spent her whole life trying to prevent. She's a child, Marcus said, voice breaking. They're children. Whatever you think I've done, they're innocent. Let them go back upstairs. Sullivan crouched in front of Maya. Your daddy sells drugs, sweetheart. Bad drugs that hurt people. If you know where he keeps them, he's a BEA agent. Maya screamed. He arrests people like you think he is. Check his ID. Call his office. Stop being racist. The room went silent. Sullivan stood slowly, looked at Maya with something cold. Racist? We're here doing our jobs. Maybe if your father wasn't doing illegal things, we haven't done anything. Maya's voice shook with righteous fury. You broke into our house. You didn't even knock. My dad teaches me about the Constitution, and you're violating every amendment. 14 years old, terrified and traumatized, and still standing up, still fighting. That's what racism does to black children, forces them to be adults before they've finished being kids. Marcus looked at his daughter, brilliant, brave, beautiful, and felt something crack in his chest. Not fear anymore, fury. You're recording this, right? Marcus said quietly. Your body cameras are on? Because my daughter is right. You have no warrant, no probable cause. You've illegally entered my home, terrorized my family, and now you're interrogating a minor without a guardian's consent. Sullivan's expression flickered. Just for a second. Have you ever had to explain civil rights to the people violating them? Had to cite law to the lawless? How exhausting is it to be calm when your children are crying? Comment if you understand this particular hell. The search intensified. They tore through everything. Marcus's home office, where he'd worked classified cases where files were stored in a locked safe they had no right to touch, violated. They pried open the safe, found his actual BEA credentials, his service weapon, classified documents. An officer emerged holding Marcus's badge and gun. Boss, you need to see this. Sullivan examined the badge like it was a toy. This real? It's real, Marcus said through clenched teeth. I've been trying to tell you. I'm BEA. This is my service weapon. Those are classified federal documents you just illegally accessed. Sullivan turned the badge over. Something shifted in his expression. Doubt, maybe. Fear. But instead of stopping, instead of apologizing, instead of doing the right thing, he doubled down. Could be fake. Could be stolen. We've seen dealers with fake badges before. Call the BEA field office. Marcus's control finally cracked. Call right now. My supervisor is Deputy Director James Chen. The number's on my phone. Call him. We'll verify in due course. In due course? You've terrorized my family, destroyed my property, accessed classified federal documents without clearance. Do you understand what you've done? Sullivan stepped closer. I understand that you're resisting, getting aggressive, and making threats. That's what I understand. The gaslighting, the manipulation, turning his justified anger into evidence of guilt. Marcus had seen cops do this to black suspects 1,000 times, had watched body cam footage, read reports, testified about it in court. But experiencing it, having it weaponized against him in his own home, was different. His phone rang. Sullivan picked it up from the coffee table, looked at the screen. Deputy Director Chen, Sullivan read. Convenient timing. Answer it. Marcus shouted. He's my supervisor. He can verify. Sullivan declined the call. Declined it. Let that sink in. A call from a federal official that would have immediately stopped this nightmare declined because it didn't fit the narrative they'd already decided. Marcus watched his phone screen go dark, watched his chance at quick resolution vanish. And in that moment, he understood. They knew. Somewhere in their gut, they knew they'd made a mistake. But admitting it, backing down, that would mean acknowledging they'd racially profiled a federal agent. That would mean consequences. So they chose to dig deeper, chose to violate more rights, chose to bet that they could find something, anything to justify their invasion. From the kitchen, another officer called out, found some pills. Unlabeled bottle, Sullivan's face lit up. There we go. Marcus closed his eyes. That's my mother's blood pressure medication. The label fell off last week. The prescription information is on her pharmacy app. Sure it is. Sullivan bagged the pills. We'll test these. See what you're really dealing. Lorraine's voice, steady despite everything, those are my pills. Listen, Oprah, I'm 68 years old with hypertension. My doctor is. Ma'am, you might want to call a lawyer. Sounds like you might be involved in your son's operation. They were going to arrest his mother. His 68-year-old mother with a church Bible still open on the kitchen table. Would you have kept your composure? Or would you have broken? Because Marcus was seconds away from losing everything. Comment your thoughts, no judgment. By now, neighbors had gathered outside. Marcus could see them through his broken front door, faces pressed against windows, phones recording, the spectacle of a black family's destruction as entertainment. Carol stood on her lawn, arms crossed, satisfaction barely hidden. She'd called this in, she'd set this in motion. And now she watched her suspicions confirmed. An officer dragged Marcus outside, in zip ties, in his own neighborhood, past the American flag he'd raised every morning, past the lawn he'd manicured, past the facade of belonging he'd tried so hard to maintain. His white neighbors watched. Some looked uncomfortable. None intervened. That's complicity. That's how racism sustains itself. Not just through active hatred, but through silent witnessing. Sullivan paraded Marcus across his front lawn like a trophy. Anyone else involved in his operation, now's the time to speak up. Carol stepped forward. I knew something was wrong. Too many people coming and going. Young black men at all hours. My nephew, Marcus said. A Howard University student visiting for spring break. Expensive cars for this neighborhood. I'm a GS-14 federal employee. My wife is a surgeon. We earn our money. Just didn't fit. You know? Didn't fit. That was the crime. Not drugs. Not dealing. Just not fitting the white neighborhood's comfort level. A black woman in scrubs, Janet, a nurse from 3 houses down, the only other black family on the street, pushed through the crowd. What are you doing? She pulled out her phone, recording. Marcus is a federal agent. I've known this family for years. What probable cause did you have? Sullivan turned on her. Ma'am, step back or you'll be arrested for interfering. Interfering? You broke into their home without a warrant. This is illegal. We had reasonable suspicion based on a tip. A tip? Janet's voice rose. From who? Carol. Who called the cops on the teenager selling lemonade last summer? Karen. Who reported a suspicious person who turned out to be the Amazon delivery driver? You raided a federal agent's home because white neighbors were uncomfortable. Another officer moved toward Janet. Ma'am, final warning. Record this. Janet shouted to the crowd. All of you, record what happens when black people exist in nice neighborhoods. Record how they treat us no matter what we achieve. Marcus met her eyes. Grateful. Exhausted. A black woman risking arrest to defend his family because she knew. Because she'd lived it too. Then Marcus heard the one sound that would change everything. A car screeching into the cul-de-sac. Door slamming. Running footsteps. Nia. His wife, still in surgical scrubs, had gotten a call from a neighbor. Had left the hospital mid-shift, driven 90 miles an hour, arrived to see her husband in zip ties on their lawn. What ARE you doing to my husband? She ran toward Marcus. Officers intercepted her, grabbed her arms. Ma'am, calm down. Don't touch, M.E. Nia twisted free, and Marcus saw it. saw the officer's hand move toward his weapon, saw the split-second decision, saw his wife's life hang in the balance because she dared to be a black woman demanding answers. "Nia, stop, please." Marcus's voice broke. "Baby, please, think of the girls. Please." Can you imagine watching your spouse almost die for asking questions? Can you imagine your children watching from the window? How do you recover from this? Nia froze. Her eyes found Marcus's, then traveled up to the bedroom window where Maya held Zoe, both girls sobbing. Something in Nia's expression shifted. The surgeon, trained for crisis, steady under pressure, emerged. "My name is Dr. Nia Thompson. I'm a pediatric surgeon at Johns Hopkins. That's my husband, BEA Special Agent Marcus Thompson. Those are our daughters in the window, watching you traumatize their family. And every second of this illegal raid is being recorded." She held up her phone. "Live streaming." Sullivan's face went pale. "Whatever you think you're doing," Nia continued, voice surgical precise, "you're doing it in front of thousands of witnesses. My husband's supervisor is Deputy Director James Chen. His direct line is 555-0147. Call him right now. Or continue this farce and explain to federal investigators why you ignored multiple attempts at verification." The crowd murmured. Phones stayed up. Recording. Sullivan looked at his team. At the destroyed house. At Marcus in zip ties. At the gathering crowd. At the live stream showing 4,000 viewers and climbing. He'd gone too far to back down. But continuing meant guaranteed consequences. Marcus watched him make the calculation, watched the moment a cop decided his ego mattered more than truth. "We're taking him in for questioning. We'll verify his identity at the station. You'll verify it now." Nia stepped forward. "You've violated the Fourth Amendment. You've terrorized minors. You've accessed classified federal documents without clearance. That's a felony. You have one chance to end this before it becomes a federal case." "Ma'am, threatening officers." "I'm not threatening. I'm educating. My husband prosecutes dirty cops. He puts away dealers, traffickers, and corrupt law enforcement. And you just handed him the easiest civil rights case of his career." Marcus felt the shift. Felt power rebalancing. His wife, brilliant, fierce, not having spent the last hour being degraded, fighting the battle he couldn't. An older officer, quieter until now, stepped forward. "Sullivan, maybe we should make the call. We don't take orders from suspects. She's not a suspect. She just got here. And if he's really BEA? If? Marcus finally exploded. "I've told you 20 times. My badge is in your hand. My supervisor's number is in your phone. What more do I have to do to prove I deserve basic dignity in my own home?" The question hung in the air. What more do black people have to do? How many degrees? How many badges? How much respect, service, sacrifice? What level of perfect do we have to be treated like human beings? Sullivan's radio crackled. "Unit 23, be advised we're getting calls about your location. Federal agents en route to your position. Advise status, everything stopped. Federal agents, Marcus's people, the cavalry he'd needed an hour ago." Sullivan's face drained of color. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for his radio. That fear, that sudden panic, that's what accountability looks like before it arrives. That's the moment racists realize their actions have consequences. Have you ever seen someone realize they destroyed their own life in real time? Comment below how you're feeling watching this unfold. 3 black SUVs rolled into the cul-de-sac. Government plates. Tinted windows. Deputy Director James Chen stepped out first. Half Chinese, half black, 25-year BEA veteran, and Marcus's supervisor for the last 8 years. Behind him, 6 federal agents, all carrying the kind of authority that local cops usually respected. Usually. Chen took one look at Marcus, his best agent, 15-year veteran, decorated officer in zip ties on his own lawn, and his expression went cold. "Someone want to explain?" Chen's voice was quiet, dangerous. "Why my special agent is restrained outside his home? Sullivan straightened. Sir, we responded to a tip about drug activity. Did you have a warrant? We had reasonable suspicion. Did you have a warrant? Silence. Did Agent Thompson identify himself? He claimed to be BEA, but did you verify his credentials? We were in the process. His badge was in his wallet. His supervisor, me, called his phone. Did you answer? Sullivan's silence was answer enough. Chen turned to his team. Document everything. Photograph the property damage. Interview the family. I want a complete report in 2 hours. Then back to Sullivan. Cut him loose. Now. An officer moved forward, cut Marcus's zip ties. Marcus's wrists were raw, bleeding where he'd pulled against them trying to protect his family. Chen's hand on his shoulder. Marcus, your girls, upstairs with my mother. Traumatized but safe. Nia? Live streaming the whole thing. 4,000 witnesses and counting. Chen's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Smart woman. Then, louder to the crowd, everyone here is a witness to an illegal search, unlawful detention, and civil rights violations of a federal officer and his family. If anyone has recordings, please send them to this email address. He handed out cards. The neighbors who'd watched in silence suddenly became eager helpers. Funny how that works. Carol tried to slip away. Chen's voice stopped her, ma'am. You made the initial call? She turned, face flushed. I was just concerned. You'll need to give a statement. Federal investigators will want to know why you reported suspicious activity about a decorated federal agent's family. I didn't know. You didn't ask. You assumed. And that assumption just cost your town a lot of money, Akalekis. Marcus walked back into his destroyed home. Chen followed, surveyed the damage, overturned furniture, smashed picture frames, his daughter's belongings scattered like garbage. Jesus, Marcus, they went through everything, including my home safe. Classified documents. Chen's expression darkened. That's a federal offense. Add it to the list. Upstairs, Marcus found his family. Maya and Zoe launched themselves at him, sobbing. He held them tight, felt their hearts racing against his chest, knew this moment would mark them forever. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry you had to see that. You didn't do anything wrong, Maya said fiercely. They did. They're racist, and they're wrong, and they're going to pay for this. 14 years old, and already understanding the system better than it understood itself. Lorraine touched his face. Baby, are you hurt? No, Mama. I'm okay. But he wasn't. None of them were. You don't recover from having your sanctuary invaded, your dignity stripped, your children terrified in their own home. Chen appeared in the doorway. Marcus, we need to talk about next steps. Downstairs, Chen laid it out. Sullivan and his team are suspended effective immediately, pending federal investigation. FBI Civil Rights Division is taking point. Department of Justice will review for criminal charges. And you, Chen met his eyes. You have every right to sue. Department, individual officers, the county. You'll win. Marcus looked at his daughters, at his wife, at his mother clutching her Bible. I don't want money. I want accountability. You'll get both. Within 48 hours, the story went viral. Local news, national news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, everyone covered it. DEA agent racially profiled and raided in own home. The video from Nia's livestream hit 3 million views. Officer Sullivan was fired within a week. No severance. No recommendation. Badge revoked. The officers who participated suspended without pay pending criminal investigation. The Montgomery County Police Department faced a federal civil rights lawsuit. Not just from Marcus, 7 other black families came forward with similar stories. Carol's tips. Sullivan's pattern of aggressive policing in black neighborhoods. Years of complaints ignored. The lawsuit detailed everything. Illegal search and seizure, $2 million. Emotional distress to minors, $3 million. Violation of federal officers' rights, $5 million. Punitive damages, $10 million. Total, $20 million settlement paid by the county. But Marcus demanded more than money. He demanded reform. The consent decree mandated implicit bias training, real training, not a video. Community Oversight Board with actual Bauer. Body camera requirements always on, no exceptions. Firing of the watch commander who authorized the raid. Public apology which came meaningless but required. Sullivan tried to fight his termination, claimed he was just doing his job, posted on social media about being canceled for protecting the community. The comments on his posts were brutal. Other cops, black and white, condemning him. Community members sharing their own stories of his harassment. His own neighbors revealing he'd bragged about cleaning up neighborhoods. He lost everything. His career, his reputation, his marriage. His wife left after the video went viral. Custody of his kids cited poor judgment and racial bias in ruling. He couldn't find work. Every Google search showed the raid. Racist cop was now his identity. Good. Do you think the punishment fit the crime? Or should there have been more consequences? What would you have done in Marcus's position? Let's discuss in comments. Carol, the neighbor who started it all, moved away within 6 months, sold her house at a loss, but not before posting a Facebook apology about learning and growing. No one bought it. The other officers involved faced varying consequences. The officer who grabbed Nia, charged with assault, fired, license revoked. Couldn't find police work anywhere. Last seen working retail, recognized by customers, confronted for his role. The watch commander who authorized the no-knock raid without a warrant, forced resignation. Pension reduced. Used as a cautionary tale in police academies nationwide, the Thompson case became required study material. The silent officers who participated but didn't speak up, demotions, suspensions, mandatory retraining. Their careers stalled. Other cops avoided them. No one wanted to be associated. But the real impact went deeper. The Montgomery County Police Department overhauled use of force policies, implemented a verification before escalation protocol, hired black leadership, created a community liaison program, funded youth programs in black neighborhoods. Not enough, never enough, but something. The Thompson family became advocates. Marcus testified before Congress about racial profiling in law enforcement. Nia launched a nonprofit supporting families traumatized by police violence. Maya, now 16, speaks at schools about civil rights. Zoe, 12, writes poetry about justice. They turned their trauma into purpose. Not because they should have to, no family should have to transform their worst day into activism, but because they refused to let it be for nothing. Other families reached out, shared their stories, found validation, support, justice. The Thompson case opened doors for accountability that had been closed for years. And Marcus? He still works for the BEA, still arrests dealers, still fights the war on drugs, though with more complicated feelings about what that war targets and who it harms. But he moved. Couldn't stay in that house. Too many ghosts, too much trauma. His daughters couldn't sleep in those rooms anymore. They bought a new house in a more diverse neighborhood, where their neighbors looked like them, where suspicious activity meant actual crime, not just black existence. And every day, Marcus teaches his daughters what his father taught him. Being excellent won't protect you, but it'll give you ammunition when they come for you anyway. That's the lesson. That's the weight black excellence carries. At a press conference 6 months later, a reporter asked Marcus how he felt about Sullivan's downfall. Marcus paused, looked at his daughters sitting in the front row, then spoke. I don't celebrate his suffering. That's not who I am. That's not who we are as a people. But I am tired. Tired of proving I deserve to exist in spaces I've earned. Tired of the mental gymnastics. Speak up and risk violence, or stay silent and accept disrespect. Tired of the talk I had to give my daughters again after they watched officers destroy our home. I'm not angry at Sullivan alone. I'm angry at the system that made him feel entitled to raid my home without evidence. I'm angry this happens every day to Black people without my resources or platform. I'm angry we're still fighting for basic dignity in 2024. But I'm hopeful. Because accountability changes behavior. If my family's trauma prevents this from happening to one other Black family, it was worth it. Though let me be clear, I shouldn't have had to be a federal agent to deserve respect. My neighbor, a teacher, she deserves respect. Her son, a grocery store clerk, he deserves respect. We all deserve to exist without proving our worth. That's what I want people to understand. The room stood and applauded, but Marcus just wanted to go home. Marcus Thompson, still serving as DEA Special Agent, now promoted to Assistant Special Agent in Charge, uses his platform to train officers on de-escalation and implicit bias, mentors young Black agents, testified in 3 other civil rights cases. His daughters are thriving, Maya at Spelman College studying criminal justice, Zoe excelling in middle school. Officer Sullivan works overnight security at a warehouse, lives alone. His parents don't speak to him. He still claims he did nothing wrong to anyone who'll listen. The internet never forgets. Neither does the Black community he terrorized. Montgomery County PD, under federal oversight for 5 years, crime reports down. Community trust slowly rebuilding. Hired their first Black police chief, a woman who references the Thompson case in every training. Carol Brewer moved to Florida. Still posts All Lives Matter content. Still doesn't understand what she did wrong. Convinced she's the victim. That's white fragility in action. The Thompson family, healing. Therapy helped. Community support helped more. They spent last Thanksgiving with Janet, the neighbor who stood up for them, found family where blood family couldn't reach. Marcus and Naya's marriage is stronger. Tested by fire, they came through. The girls have nightmares sometimes, but they have a mother who's a surgeon and a father who's a hero. They'll be okay. Better than okay. They'll be warriors. Here's what I want you to remember. Racism isn't just burning crosses and slurs. It's the assumption that a Black person in a nice neighborhood must be a criminal. It's the tip from a neighbor who never bothered to say hello. It's the refusal to verify identity because the identity doesn't match expectations. It's microaggressions that pile up until you can't breathe in your own home. For Black people watching, I see you. I see your exhaustion. The code switching, the respectability politics, the constant proving. You deserve better. You deserve to exist without justifying your existence. Your children deserve to feel safe in their own beds. For everyone else, don't be Sullivan. Don't be Carol. Don't be the silent witness. Be Janet, the neighbor who risked arrest to speak truth. Be the officer who said maybe we should verify. Be better. Because underestimating Black people, that's your first mistake. Disrespecting us, that's your second. But thinking there won't be consequences in 2024, that's the mistake you can't afford to make. These stories matter. They happen every day. Subscribe so you never miss one. Hit the bell icon. Join a community that refuses to let racism go unchecked. Share this with someone who needs to understand what living while Black means. Like if you believe in accountability. Comment your thoughts. Respectful dialogue builds bridges. We're building something here. A record. A movement. A refusal to be silent. Because every time we tell these stories, we make it a little harder for the next Sullivan to pull the trigger. A little harder for the next Carol to make that call. A little harder for the next department to ignore complaints. Next week, Black lawyer arrested in courtroom, judge didn't know she was the prosecutor. You won't believe how this ends. The betrayal, the reveal, the justice. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. These stories need to be told. Until then, respect costs nothing. Dignity isn't negotiable. And racism? In 2024, it comes with receipts and consequences. Peace.